Hey guys, Scarlet Darkwood here. Hope everyone's had a good week. I want to start off by saying that if you are watching this video and you think you're going to get more jewelry projects on this channel, I hate to disappoint you, you're probably not going to find it here. If you want to watch the video and learn something, and if you decide you like the rest of what my videos are, then please subscribe. Otherwise, the reason I'm showing these 4 sets of videos, or 5, I can't remember, but anyway, those videos used to be out when I had my shop, and we just closed that recently. And I wanted to share the videos again because they're beginning jewelry classes. And a lot of people who practice the occult or who are into metaphysics, a lot of times they like to wear jewelry. They like to make their own pieces, choose their own stones, create their own designs because it has meaning to them. So the next series of videos, I'm going to have a playlist for it. It's for those who want to make their own pieces, and the techniques are just techniques. I'm not making any project, but I'm showing you how to use the tools, what they are. And the other videos are going to be about making simple wire loops if you want to make earrings, how to string beads if you want to make a necklace or a bracelet, and I'm even going to have my video on pearl knotting. And what's nice about that is you can watch that video and knot anything. You can knot gemstones, pearls, whatever you would like. So if you want to make some malas and use a cord that's more drapey and softer than flex wire to do regular necklaces and bracelets, you can do that too. I've put time codes in the description so that you can cut right to the start of when I start teaching the class. So I hope everyone enjoys this series, and if you have any questions, let me know. If you have any projects or things you think you want me to try to teach you, I can definitely try to do that. You can definitely email me and we can talk about it. So hope everyone enjoys the video series, and if you make some pretty pieces, please email me some pictures. I would love to see them, and I may show them on my videos. Have a great week. Enjoy the beginning jewelry classes. Let's go for our last project, knotting pearls without tools. I'm going to show you a way to knot between glass, gemstones, or pearls without using a clunky tool. This will allow you to have nice snug knots and to show off your beads beautifully. The thread I will be using is Griffin bead cord. It's a number 2 silk thread that has a needle woven into it so that you can load your pearls on easily. I'm using silk because it's soft. Pearls are soft and porous, and they need a silkier thread, not something abrasive. And so I'm using a size number 2 because the holes are smaller in pearls. The size of thread goes anywhere from 0 to the thinnest to 16 to the thickest. And as you can see, pearls will probably require a 1, 2, or a 3. The method I'm going to show you is called the double strand method. This will also give some strength to your piece. What I like to do is simply take all the cord off the card. If I can find the needle, I will dislodge it. And the beads I'm going to be working with are just some simple freshwater pearls. And you can find these in a lot of places. They're pretty and colorful, and you can use them as spacers and accents between your other beads, or you can wear them alone. So they're not just for dress up, they're for everyday wear, and I hope you enjoy experimenting with the pearls because they're one of my favorite beads. I now have all the cord off the card. You want to be careful when you're engaging in pearl knotting because if you get your thread knotted up, you can't get it out and you'll have to start over. But what I want to do is start at the end where there's no needle, and I just want to pull like this. And I just want to get the kinks out. Be careful to not pull so hard that you break the thread or cut your hands because this can cut into your skin. So just be very careful and just get all the kinks out. And the little needle is kind of curly, so I just kind of want to straighten it out as best I can. I'm ready to make a slip knot onto my clasp. As you can see, I'm using a fishhook clasp or a pearl clasp. And I'm keeping my two ends together so I don't lose them. And I just want to make a slip knot on one end. And so what I'm doing is I'm putting it through like this, just my end where I don't have my needle. And I'm just pulling it through a little bit. I'm now taking the end where I have my needle and I'm running it through the same direction. And I'm just pulling a little bit. Since I'm going to be knotting with this, I'm making it a little bit longer. And as you can see, I've got the clasp hanging from two threads. And because I've doubled this cord, I now have a loop here. I've made a loop with one hand because I've doubled my thread. And now I'm going to take the needle end and the end that doesn't have a needle, and I want to just run it through my loop and just catch it with my fingers. I want to then just slip this through like this and just drop. I take my clasp and I just very carefully start to pull so the thread slips through my fingers. Remember, you don't want this to get knotted up or you're going to be in big trouble. So I just keep it and just pull it through until I have a slip knot like this. And so I'm ready to start knotting. I'm going to lay my clasp in front of me, and what I want to do is separate my two threads. I'm going to put the thread that doesn't have a needle to my left, and I'm going to put my affixed needle, that's the one that comes woven into the thread, I'm going to keep it to my right. Just kind of lay it out over here. Don't want it catching on anything, and I don't want it getting knotted up. And so now I have created a V, more or less like this. Now I am going to take a beading needle. This is just a twisted beading needle with a large head, which will collapse as I run it through the bead. I'm going to just string on the end. This is the one where I don't have any needle attached to it. That's the one to my left. And I'm going to load on some pearls. I'm just going to take some of my freshwater pearls and I'm just going to load them on. I call this thread my loading thread because that's exactly what I do. I just simply put on my pearls. I'm doing a shorter version of this for demonstration purposes only, and the reason is because it's the same thing over and over. Pearl knotting or gemstone knotting is pretty simple. Once you get started, you can keep doing this as long as you have thread. I've loaded my pearls on, and I have loaded them all on except for one. And so I'm ready to start knotting. I'm going to hold the last one out, and I will explain why I did this when I get to the end. So I'm going to lay my loading thread aside. I don't need it anymore. And as you can see, I'm keeping my V in front of me. This is going to help me knot and help me keep things nice and orderly and organized, and that's what you're going to want to do, or you're going to knot yourself up, no pun intended. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thread, the one that has the affixed needle, and I'm going to take it and in the same direction run it down through my first pearl. This is the one that's closest to the clasp. I've just taken the needle end and I'm running it back down through this pearl. You don't want it running in the opposite direction or you're going to have cord wrapped around it. But I've run this through and I'm just simply going to pull my thread through. Be careful that you don't get everything knotted up. You see that it's wanting to knot up there. So I just, for demonstration purposes, just show like this. And now I've got my first pearl on. Now I'm ready to make my first knot. I'm going to take the 2 threads, and I'm going to take my affixed needle thread and I'm just going to wrap it around to make an overhand knot. That's all you're making. Nothing fancy. These aren't Girl Scout or Boy Scout knots or surgeon's knots or anything else. They're just an overhand knot. I have taken my thread where I've got my pearls loaded. I've taken them in one hand and I'm taking my fixed needle thread in the other, and I'm just bringing it around to make a loop, and I'm simply reaching through and pulling it like this to make a knot. Be real careful that I don't get anything tangled, and I just pull like this, nice and snug. I'm going to take my needle end again and I'm going to go through the second pearl just like I did the first. I'm going to run it through and I'm going to hold it through nice and easy. Pull everything just like this, and I'm going to run this pearl close to the knot that I just made, and I'm ready to do the same thing again. I'm going to take my loaded pearl thread in one hand, my fixed needle thread in the other, and just bring around, make a loop, I can reach through and just pull. I just make an overhand knot and I pull. And I'm going to do this until the end. Okay, I'm near the end and I have got all my beads on and I've knotted through all of them except the last 3. And I'm going to make a quick knot, just like I said, a simple overhand knot. And then I've got 2 more beads to go before I add my clasp. Well, I don't want to knot in between my last 2 just yet. I'm going to go ahead and I've got my next to the last bead on, and I am just simply going to treat it like I have all the others. And I'm not knotting just yet. I'm going to undo the last end of my pearl clasp. I didn't lose it because I had it connected. And I'm simply going to add my last pearl on the thread that has my fixed needle. I'm not using my loading thread anymore. It's done. So I've got this on one strand, but by the time I add my clasp and go back down that pearl, it will be on 2 strands. So I've got my last pearl loaded on, and as you can see, my loading thread is in between the last 2 beads. I'm going to add my clasp end, and I'm just going to run it through like this, and I'm going to come back again to the same direction so I can loop twice. This will add some strength, and I will take it and just pull it as close as I can to the pearl. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back down through the pearl again. And what I will do is work it little by little until everything's nice and tight. Okay, now I'm going to keep working this little by little. And it means pulling this up and taking the 2 and pulling this until I get it really snug. And I get all my threads together. Now, let's talk about finishing this off here. Most pearl knotters will go back down between 2 pearls or 3. I've chosen not to do this because I find it very frustrating that when I go down and tie a knot and I'm trying to run the needle back down over that knot and into the second bead, I've gotten stuck many times and I've had to start my project over. So what I have found that works just as well is doing it the way that I'm showing you now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to end up just making a regular overhand knot again, because I've got it nice and tight and snug, and I'm just going to pull. And it looks like my knot is to one side, and I want to balance that out. So I just pull everything through and I'll lay the knot on its back. The only thing I'm going to do differently this time is I'm going to do what they call like a tailor's knot. I'm going to make an overhand knot again, but this time I'm going to loop twice. I'm going to go 2 times around. And then I'm ready to finish. Keep everything out of the way, nice and even, and pull. And give a good tug. You don't want to go so hard that you break your thread. I had a friend that did that and broke her thread. And I'm just going to kind of cut the little ends off here just a little bit. I'm not clipping everything because I want to add some jewelry glue. If you cut these ends off before you glue, they like to fray. They like to go like this, and your whole piece will come apart. So what I'm going to do is work with some hypo cement glue. The thing that's nice about this glue is there's a needle in the cap so that it will keep the tube clean and you can use it till all the way to the end. You can see that this has the needle, and here is the end here. And I'm just simply going to glue this right here. I'm going to put it right on that knot where the ends are, and I want it to be nice and secure. You can get right in there. Now what I want to do is I want to let that dry just a little bit before I cut. Now that this is dried, I'm going to cut really close to that knot without cutting the knot. If you do that, that defeats the whole purpose. So I take it with some scissors and I cut as close as I can. Now what I like to do is I like to add some more glue to the knot ends. And I like to really work those ends down with my fingers or my fingernails. You might take something thin that you can cut in between and to shape that knot down. And then you just let it dry some more. Now I have used brown thread with these peach pearls just for demonstration purposes. You want your thread to blend in nicely with your pearls. Or if you're trying to create a artistic visual effect, then you can use some contrasting colors, which can look very nice too. Now that I have finished, I'm ready to finish shaping this and letting it dry a little more, and then you'll have a nice little piece to wear, like this. I made a nice necklace here, and it's ready to wear. Or you can go a little bit more formal like the pearls I'm wearing here. At any rate, you'll enjoy pearl knotting. It's very relaxing and it keeps a lost art alive. Thank you for joining me. I hope you're on your way to creating wonderful designs.